Today we're going to talk about how to round a number to the nearest given place value. Let's work with the problem of round 6.47 or 6 47/100 to the nearest tenth. The first thing that you're going to need to do is to decompose the number. You will need to use a place value chart that you already have, or you can draw yourself one. The first thing that you're going to need to do is place your value on the place value chart. The 6 is in the 1 spot, so I'm going to draw a 6. Then I have my decimal point. Then the 4 is in the tenths place, and the 7 is in the hundredths place. Now to decompose, I'm going to move the 6 over and bring the 4 down, and then the 7 comes down. Now to make my last decomposition, I'm going to move the 64 over, and bring the 7 down. These are the 3 decompositions that I have for 6.47. The next step that you want to do in rounding to the nearest given place value is choose which decomposition to use. So what you want to do here to choose your decomposition is go to the rounding column, and because I am rounding to the nearest tenth, I'm going to choose the tenths column. Once I have my nearest tenth, I'm going to pick the biggest number. So I'm looking at 4 and 64 and asking myself which one is bigger. 64 is bigger, so the decomposition that I'm going to use is 64 tenths and 7 hundredths. The next step, step 3, is to draw your number line with low and high points. Your bottom number is always the big number from your decomposition that you're using. In this case, my bottom number is going to be 64 tenths. Your top number is always the bottom number plus 1. So in this case, my top number is going to be 65 tenths. Step 4 is you need to find the midpoint. The midpoint is always your bottom number, which in this case would be 64 tenths, plus 5 of the next column over. And in this case, we were at 64 in the tenths column, so one column over would be hundredths column. So our midpoint would be 64 tenths and 5 hundredths. So what we're looking at now, step 5, is to put your number in. And our number that we are working with is 64 tenths and 7 hundredths. You want to look at the 5 number, the second number in your midpoint, and compare this hundredths to the hundredths column of our number. Our number's hundredths column happens to be 7. So I asked myself, is 7 above 5? Or is it below 5? And in this case, our number 7 is above 5. So I'm going to draw in my number, which is 64 tenths up from top and 7 hundredths. Now I'm on to step 6, which is asking myself, am I rounding up or down? So what you look at is the midpoint and up is when you're rounding up, and then below the midpoint is rounding down. So to decide where I'm going with my number, I go to the line that I drew, and I kind of go out and see which one it intersects, whether it intersects the up or down. And in this case, I intersect the up. So I know that if I'm rounding up to 65 tenths. So finally, step 7, we need to write our answer. And you need to remember that we have to write the decomposition in standard form. And what that means is we're not going with the answer 65 tenths. That is not in standard form. So we need to put it in standard form. How we put it back in standard form is we ask ourselves our decimal and how many columns is tenths over from our decimal, and that's 1 column. So I'm going to draw my 1 line to remind myself that I put 1 number there. Then I start filling in my numbers. My first number is a 5, so I put my 5 in. Then I move over and my next number is 6. So finally, we can say that 6.47 rounded to the nearest tenth is 6.5.